in any endeavor, you can only be 5 things. You can be bad, you can be average, you can be good, you can be excellent, or you can be elite. And I prefer a life that bounces somewhere between excellent and elite. You can measure excellence, you can quantify it, you can reach certain milestones, hit a certain speed, whatever. Elite is this kind of mythical Camelot that is just that next ridgeline. My name is Clint Bruce. I'm an entrepreneur. I have an opportunity to started 2 companies. One, Trident, where we take care of some of the best private sector leaders in America and their companies. Second is 30 and 3, where we provide speakers, combat veterans to the private sector and the pro sports teams. And then I've been blessed to be involved in an organization called Carry the Load, who has the mission of making Memorial Day matter again. My story, I like to refer to it as Gumpian. I'm kind of Forrest Gump. I just kind of put my head down and go and look up, and I'm like, oh, I'm at the Naval Academy. And then I put my head down, I'm like, oh, I'm married and she's hot. And, I just kind of keep going. So, born in Arkansas, moved down here in Dallas when I was in middle school. Had an opportunity to play at a great high school football program with some incredible coaches. Had an opportunity to play at a lot of different Division I schools. But my senior year, lost my father. And that was obviously one of those pivotal moments where you either use that as a reason to, as an excuse for every failure going forward, or you remember who you said you were going to be when you had a dad, and you marched towards that milestone. And so for me, it was very easy. I decided I was going to be who I told my dad I would before I lost him. And I've always been about higher things, nobility, virtue. These are the things that I was raised in. These words always meant something to me. And I look at an institution like a service academy, in particular the Naval Academy, and just saw that, one, it could meet all those intangibles that I wanted to be associated with, and then 2, it could advantage me as I look to be the son I said I'd be, and the brother that I said I'd be. Coming out of the service academy, I was involved in the elite athlete program, where they say, go into your professional sport, make the team, serve 2 years, and we'll let you back out and you can represent. The services is very similar to what David Robinson did. So, and went to the Baltimore Ravens, had an opportunity with that team. But I'd also been selected as a candidate for the SEAL program, which are the only 2 things I ever wanted to do, be a SEAL or play in the NFL. And there I was, kind of looking at both. And so, having been in the NFL briefly, really looked at focusing hard on the SEAL teams and just kind of committed to that. Made it through training, which was exciting. It's pretty challenging. We lose Olympic athletes all the time in training. We lose professional athletes all the time in training. And if you were to stand up 200 guys that were going through training and pick them based on physicality, you'd be wrong more than half of the time. It's always that farm kid from Iowa who's just used to working 18 hours in a day and doesn't know what cold feels like anymore because he was feeding the pigs at 4 in the morning and negative 40 degrees, and he has that indomitable kind of we always win mentality, and that's the kid that makes it. Buzz, the entire SEAL selection program is built to push you past failure and see what you do on that. It doesn't matter what you're good at. If you're a great runner, it'll beat you with a cold. If you're a strong guy, it'll beat you with endurance. It'll find what you're not good at, and it'll break you. Because we're not interested in unbroken men. We're interested in what you do once you pass that limit. Checked into SEAL Team 5, and the SEAL Team 5, 1999, this is pre-9/11, so the New Orleans Saints called, and I had an opportunity to go work out with the Saints for a little while. But Secretary of the Navy and kind of the powers that be recognized that we were in an interesting season as a nation, and that we would really need the majority of our special operations officers, which I'd become one. And so they said, hey, we need you back. And I said, hey, I'm happy to be back. And that began this great adventure in the SEAL community, where I got to deploy multiple times to both the Pacific and the Middle East and other locations around the world with these guys that were right out of books and movies, just some of the most epic and heroic men I've ever gotten to be around. And I got to, I don't necessarily say you lead SEALs, you get to aim them, because they're pretty amazing guys. And then I got to be led by some really, really incredible leaders, both in the senior enlisted community and in the officer corps. And then my bride, we got pregnant and had a baby, and I was gone. And I came home, my daughter was 7 months old, and had just kind of done the majority of things I said I wanted to do as a SEAL. So came back home and just kind of put on the daddy hat, which is honestly the greatest job I've ever had. Then got a phone call when Katrina happened, and there's some guys in Dallas that kind of knew about my background, and they asked me to go down to Katrina and rescue some folks, and we were able to do that very quickly and very well because we knew how to do it. And out of that, I had an opportunity to start a company called Trident, which is what I do primarily now. And I have an opportunity to go speak to a lot of organizations and professional teams. And one of the things I tell them all the time is, in any endeavor, you can only be 5 things. You can be bad, you can be average, you can be good, you can be excellent, or you can be elite. And I prefer a life that bounces somewhere between excellent and elite. And the difference between excellent and elite is this. You can measure excellence, you can quantify it, you can reach certain milestones, hit a certain speed, whatever. Elite is this kind of mythical Camelot that is just that next ridgeline. And so the question comes, and I get it all the time, is how do you feel about adversity? And I said, well, one, because I'm always trying to go to that next ridgeline, I've come to expect it. And I've come to almost acknowledge the absence of adversity as an indicator that I'm not trying hard enough, or my goals aren't significant enough. And you always try to balance that tension between expecting adversity and becoming addicted to it. So you don't want to create chaos for chaos' sake, but you come to expect adversity as an indicator that you are pushing yourself and you're pushing people around you. So that's, for me, I appreciate adversity because I recognize it as an indicator that I'm where I said I wanted to be in my goals and objectives. We say this all the time, we always win. And that sounds like an arrogant statement, but let me elaborate on that a little bit. The statement isn't we are always victorious, because we're not always victorious. But when you define winning as either I am victorious or I understand why I lost and I fix those problems and I'll get beat another way a different day, then you always win. So when you broaden your aperture on what a win looks like, you become very dangerous as an individual when you lose your fear of failure. There's this myth, this fallacy that I think largely the world has bought into, that there's this X on the map, and that once we get to the X, everything's going to be great. But that's not true. The X is an end point, and I'm not interested in slowing down. In my life is this. There's no X on a map. There's a bunch of pencil X's that I'd like to go to, but there's a bunch of people I've decided to live life with, and I bounce around on that map towards Jesus until I meet him. And that's it. That's my life. And once I kind of divorced myself of this expectation of perfection and knew that really life's just about saying, hey, I want to be elite, and what does elite look like? And here's what excellence is. And I bounce between the two. And I'm not going to be perfect, but by God, I'm not going to lose. I might get beat. Then life's just living.